Afternoon and welcome to the Tuesday, October 12th, 2021 Public Works Committee meeting. Now is time for a roll call and determination of quorum.
Evans. Stroman. Here. Roberts.
Here.
Jones. Here. Armstrong.
Here.
A quorum is present.
Thank you very much. Now it's time for adoption of the agenda. We have the motion to adopt by Councilman Jones and a second by Councilman Stroman. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Now it's time for general public comment. This is a time for members of the public to discuss or express concerns to the committee on any issue not limited to items on the agenda. Action will not be taken at the meeting on any issue not on the agenda except by placement on the agenda by unanimous vote of the council members present. I don't have anything. I don't see anybody jumping up and down in the audience. So I will close that and we'll move on to consent items. Items 1 through 1. Okay, items 1 through 18. And we'll open public comment. I don't have anything in front of me. I don't think anybody in the audience has anything. So I will close public comment and we will move to, I'll look for a motion for the consent items unless somebody wants to pull something off. We've got Mr. Stroman in the queue.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to pull 4, 7, and 9 just for some clarification and information.
Okay. Well, and also, I forgot, I've been running this a little bit differently lately. Sorry there, Mr. Tech. Would you like to speak on any or all items on the agenda?
Once again, I'll do whatever the committee desires, but I'm prepared to just give a brief overview of every item.
I think that's kind of what we're doing right now, so if we have nobody on the dais that objects, we will do that.
Very good. I'll get started. Items 2 and 3 are standard change orders. They're both final change orders. As you can see, a slight increase on one and a significant decrease on another. Item 4, advertised for bids for 2022 streetlight maintenance contract. I think it's every 3 years we bid for services for a company to provide maintenance for our major streetlights. Most of you probably don't know, but we are responsible for maintaining all of the DOT lighting along the interstate. So those huge light towers that you see at the interchanges, when one of those gets knocked down, we're responsible for maintaining that. We don't have the equipment necessary to put those big towers up, so we contract with somebody. Typically we make it a renewable contract. So anyway, we're out of the terms of our contract for this year, so we're going to be advertising for those services. Moving on to item 5, this is part of the overall drainage out in the Johnson Ranch Orchard Meadows area that we've talked about before. This is a project to extend the drainage work that we started at Rapid Creek a little further upstream, and we have to do a major crossing of St. Patrick Street right near the intersection with Highway 44, so that's what this project is about. Item 6 is part of our pavement rehab project, so these are going to be mostly mill and overlays, some inlays, obviously repairing curb gutter, making ADA compliance along Locust and Ivy. Item 7, Sharon Lake Road reconstruction, Corral Drive to Catron Boulevard. We did a corridor study in this area here a number of years ago, within the last 3 or 4 years, to identify what traffic pressures and lane configurations that we're going to need on Sheridan Lake Road for the future. Obviously, our biggest bottleneck that we have right now is between Catron Boulevard and Corral Drive, so we'll be reconstructing that. So this item is for obtaining professional services for that.
Can I move in 1 second, Dale? Is that going to include the utility work under the road too?
Absolutely, we'll have to make those adjustments. On an arterial road, we absolutely will do all of the work at one time. We can't afford to go back in there a second
That was real
time.
close to that major water line break we had out there just recently, wasn't
This
it?
is just a little further to the south. Our major concern, though, is really the intersection of
Okay.
Sharon Lake Road and Catron Boulevard, the improvements that need to be there. And there's some significant utility improvements, and that'll be done at that intersection as well.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
You're welcome. Item number 9, Verizon Wireless, we have what's called an AVL that we implement on our street department equipment as well as our solid waste equipment. And AVL stands for Automatic Vehicle Locating. So it's an ability for us to see where our equipment is, see how they're doing. It's meant to provide efficiency in our operations about, hey, the data shows that this vehicle, the routing of it isn't quite right. We should do something different with it to be more efficient with the operation of our vehicle. So this is, I believe, an agreement to add additional vehicles to the system that we already have. Item number 10 is an infill agreement, standard agreement with some property owners to extend some sewer main to their property. Item 11, Deadwood Avenue. The city of Rapid City and Pennington County had partnered a few years ago to reconstruct Deadwood Avenue, I believe, from I-90 up to the county line. There's been some difficulties on the county end of the project. I think they're having some acquisition issues, right-of-way acquisition issues. So that road is in such poor shape that we've got to do something with it. So we're going to divide and just construct what's in the city. So that's what this agreement is for, is to give us a set of biddable documents just for a city project to get that chunk of Deadwood Avenue rebuilt. And item 12, let's see, Robbinsdale. Once again, this is another project in the Robbinsdale area that we've done many of in the last 15 years. I guess I don't know right off the top of my head where it's located, but it'll be a continuation of work that we've been doing in the Robbinsdale area. Let's see, item 13. Let's see, this is an amendment to an agreement. We had a boiler project that I think I've described to you a number of times that we had difficulties getting a bidder on. Well, we were finally able to procure services to get those boilers installed, and we need additional, looks like, professional services, and I'm assuming that's probably for them to provide certification and inspection for the install of that. Item number 14, let's see, oh yeah, this is our pavement condition index survey that we talked about here some months ago. So this is the actual contract for that. So we'll have a company that does this nationwide will come in and drive and rate our streets and collect data. It's more than just the rating of the streets, it's to collect data. We'll be able to use this information in conjunction with our utility master plans. That'll be finished by around the end of the year. It'll give us a real good data set for prioritizing where we need to spend our infrastructure dollars. So we're looking forward to this project kicking off and seeing the end result from that. And then item 15 is a small project. Didn't need to be bid, but we still need to have the council approve the agreement for a storm sewer inlet down in the Nebraska Street, Winslow Drive area. There's a lot of spring activity along there, and I believe this summer we had an incident where there was some slime that was growing, I think, in one of the drain pans down there just due to constant groundwater running down the curb and gutter. So we're going to install an inlet to reduce the hazard to motorists that had encountered that slippery spot on the roadway. And that's about it for items 2 through 15. If you get any specific questions or want any clarifications, I'd be happy to address those now before Mr. Biegler covers his items.
Go ahead.
I guess I'd also like to address number 6, if I could, Dale. On 6, now this is you said a mill and layout or overlay on this Ivy Street?
I believe that it is. Let me check here real quick. I'll verify that. Yeah, it's just as I said, so it'll be pavement replacement, so either an overlay or what we call an inlay, which is we take all the asphalt off. But we're not replacing all the curb and gutter, we're just fixing what needs to be repaired and then making ADA improvements as well.
So would I be correct to say that this is a project that comes up on your 5-year plan that you've had, it's already budgeted because you've already budgeted for it, and this is the progression of things that we are taking care of our streets, even if they aren't arterial streets, but this is just another example of that. Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct. In fact, this work, I'm sure, has been planned for a minimum of 3, if not 8 years. So in that 3 to 8 year window, all of our rehab work is planned out. So yeah, most definitely this is part of our program that we try to keep our good streets good and spend our money as effectively as we can.
I appreciate that. Question I had on number 4 with the streetlight maintenance contract. From your explanation, that's different than the downtown project that Power and Light was putting in lights and they were going to take care of them or something?
Yeah, this is a standard agreement that we've had in place, or I shouldn't say standard agreement, standard practice that we've had in place for years and years and years. It doesn't justify, there's not enough work for the city to purchase a $300,000 boom truck and have people certified in the operation of that boom truck to go out and erect and maintain those, even to change the bulbs on those big tall towers. It's much more cost effective for us to contract that work out. So that's what this maintenance contract is for, is to take care of knockdowns as well as change lamps out and ballasts and whatever their electrical needs way up high are.
Okay. Thank you for that explanation. That I fully support that. The last question I have is on number 7, which is the Sheridan Lake Road reconstruction. At one time, I don't know if it was a year or 2 ago, someone was talking about a Sheridan Lake Road project that would actually be further south on Sheridan Lake Road and would kind of run diagonally to the northeast and connect with Catron at some point. Is that still a possibility, or is that something that's been considered and rejected, or?
Yeah, I think what you may be talking about is the, I'm drawing a blank on the road name up on top by Black Hills Energy, Les Hollers Way extension down to Sheridan Lake Road. So yeah, that in concept, that project is sitting out there. It is not funded. It's not identified in our capital improvement plan. Our most immediate capacity issues we're having are on this chunk of roadway right here between Corral Drive and Catron Boulevard. It's in dire need of additional lanes for additional capacity. I think you may, since you live in that area, have seen the backups that occur in that area. There are certainly other capacity issues on Sheridan Lake Road further south, and those will be future projects. I don't know if any of them are funded right now, but certainly they are identified and will be done at some point in time.
Okay. Thank you for that explanation. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Mr. Evans, you've got those. Oh, that's fine. Yep, Pat, go ahead. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
thank you.
I was
Thanks.
seeing you. I thought you were going in right there.
Thank you, Chairman, and Mr. Evans. Thank you, too. I'm excited to see all these projects going on in Robbinsdale and Ward 1. I'm aware of several of them going on, and it's exciting to see more going on. I know they've been part of the long-range planning and things, and it's great to see them keep coming forward, so that's exciting for me. I'd also like to comment on the the data collection for the pavement condition index. One of the things I think any person who sat on the Rapid City Council has said is we need a good plan for our roads. We need a plan for our roads. We can't just randomly do roads. And we've been educated a lot lately on how decisions are made, keep good roads good, and to do things in a planned and organized manner. I'm excited to see that we're taking the next step to do this data collection with this process. It will give us, based on what Dale has told us, not just what the roads are like, but more data to plan on what really needs to be done, when, what's imminent and what's not. One thing I've learned sitting up here is sometimes a road that looks good isn't, and sometimes a road that doesn't look good is. And so this will help us be even wiser, I assume, in our future planning, how we spend money, and what we do to take better care of our roads. So this meets something big that we've been asking for as a council, is a better way to plan and take care of our roads. So Dale, thank you for making this happen. It's exciting. I think it's going to be well worth the money to do it for the data that it will give us. Thank you.
Mr. Evans.
Yeah, it's good to see, thank you. It's good to see that the street plan does work not all the time, but some of the time, and I'm sure that makes you really happy because a couple of those are really in need of the work they're going to have done. I have a question about the lighting. And you say, Mr. Tech, that we maintain the freeway lighting out here, say from, well, the West Boulevard exit clear on up to the Menards exit, right? All those high pole lights.
Yes.
Who pays the lighting bill on that?
I believe we do. And I should qualify that answer with, we receive funding from the DOT for this maintenance. So it's in a big pot of money that we get every year. These are agreements that go back decades that we've signed with the DOT, that they build infrastructure. They don't have the forces to maintain it. We, the city, agree to maintain it, and in turn, they give us money every year to do that.
Well, that definitely changes the discussion then to know that. But I'm concerned about when these particular projects are spec'd in the first place. If you read the data, this overlighting of roadways has proven to be a problem in that they spend a lot of money and time providing light that seems to have virtually no effect on the amount of accidents and the safety factor and everything. And I'm just wondering and I know that a lot of cities that are more dark skies oriented are managing to get rid of some of these things, because this is scattered light that really, really affects the landscape all night long. And perhaps in the future we can move toward a time when we actually plan those systems with a DOT and maybe decide areas that need to be less lit and the ones that really need priority, because sprawling light for miles on end, to me, it just seems to be a ridiculous waste of money. So I just wanted to point that out. But it's good to know that we do get compensated for that bill. Thank you.
Thank you, and it looks like we have no other questions. I just have one real quick one, if the committee doesn't mind. Hey, Dale, on item 11 on the Deadwood Avenue reconstruction, how far do the public utilities run out there? Do they run to the city line, or is this going to include some city utilities out there?
This area is right, it's on the edge of us even be able to provide service. For instance, the water, there won't be any water extension, because basically at whatever that road is that goes into Harley-Davidson off of Deadwood Avenue, that's the limit of the pressure zone. If you get any higher, and that we gain elevation actually as we go to the north there, there's no water pressure. So that's a completely different pressure zone. So we are not installing any water because there's no water to extend. We are extending sanitary sewer as far as we can to the north, but there's a place where the road crowns and it starts going down. So we're extending it as far as gravity will allow us along that stretch. I don't know the exact limits of that, but certainly that was part of the project.
Thank you, and that opens up a million other questions, but I'll wait on those
Sure.
because it's going to be a long time before something happens out in that area. So I think, Mr. Beegler, you can speak on 16 and 17 if you'd like.
I would be happy to, yes. Item 16 is a resolution of intent to enter into a lease agreement with the Black Hills Farmers Market to allow them to use the Market Park area for their farmers market. That is over there on Omaha Street, right near the bridge there at the creek. And item number 17 is just an authorization for the mayor and finance director to sign that lease agreement once it's approved by council.
Thank you very much, and it looks like we have a few questions. Mr. Stroman?
Mr. Beegler, are you aware, the farmer's market, they have a vision fund request in, is that correct?
That is correct.
And what, generally, do you know what that consists of?
Yes, they are asking for funding to construct a building out there that would be, half of it would be open air with a cover on it, the other half, would be enclosed. Their thinking is that this would allow them to have vendors out there during inclement weather, or maybe extend their season at the beginning of the season or the end of the season.
Well, I was out there Saturday morning, it would have been useful then.
Councilman Jones, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. One question, Mr. Beegler. Is the lease a one-year lease or two-year lease, or what is it?
This lease is a one-year lease with the ability to renew. We did a one-year lease just for the fact that if this group does receive vision funding and they do construct a building, we will probably want to amend the lease agreement to include that building. So they're fine with it. Our attorney's office is fine with it, so that's why we went with a one-year lease at this time.
Makes sense. Thank you. Yield.
Thank you, and if I can ask you a few questions. Typically, what is this, a 3-year lease, a 5-year lease?
Typically, it is a 3-year, I believe, and it's never been a lease before. It's always just been an agreement with the council authorizing them to use a particular location. But at this time, we thought it was best to formalize that agreement into an actual lease agreement, like we do with all the other organizations that use our facilities.
And if they do get a building on there, are you looking at a little longer-term lease, or?
Most likely, yes. I know that's their desire.
Yes, I think it would be best for everyone.
I think so, too.
Thank you. So if we're, okay, go ahead.
I'm curious about this because, in my travels a lot, we visit these farmers markets, whether it's in Boston or Philadelphia or all over Europe. And I mean, they're wonderful things. However, has there been any consultation with our urban planners to see what is the actual best location for this particular thing? Has there been any talk about that with them?
They have had discussions with our planning staff about location on the site and what makes the best sense in terms of a location. So I know they've had that conversation. They did that before they submitted their vision fund request because they wanted to have that information as well.
Thank you. Mr. Tech, if you want to finish off, you can.
Thank you. Actually, item 18, the Historic Pres Commission, I'm not aware of that.
You don't have to do that one. We're
Okay, very
skipping
good.
that one.
Items 19, 20, and 21, actually, there's 19 request for an exception 40-unit rule. Staff's recommending approval on item 19. Item 20, the attachments to the agenda are correct, but the title, it says Cloud Peak Drive. Actually, that should say Carriage Hills Drive on item 20. I just want to make that correction. We'll get the title corrected before it goes to council. And once again, staff's recommending approval on that one. And then item 21, actually, we received an email from the applicant that they would like this continued for 2 weeks. So that'd be to the October 26th Public Works Committee meeting. So.
Thank you very much. And we will move back to, go ahead.
Thank you very much. Dale, in a nutshell, I know we've kind of tried to stay with this 40 units single access thing. What is allowing these to be approved even though they are serving more than 40?
The 40-unit rule primarily is public safety issues. So our fire department, typically, it's their, I won't say issue, but their major concern. They want to make sure that if there's an emergency, a wildfire, anything along those terms, that they can get in and out with people trying to get in and out. Generally speaking, our fire department, if the homes are fire sprinkled, they're much more willing to allow more than the 40-unit rule. So I believe that to be the case on the first two items, that fire's good with it. That's why the recommendation is to approve.
So it's not necessarily anything to do with the parking or the physical structure of it. It's more to do with fire suppression and safety for evacuation kind of.
Generally speaking, it can get to a point where there could be a utility issue or something like that. That's pretty rare, but that does occur. That's why these two are approved, though, is generally from the fire department.
Okay, very interesting. Thank you.
And if you don't mind if I jump in here real quick, too. So reading through this, Dale, it looked like one of the other issues on this was they really didn't have a good phasing plan put into place for their next phases on this.
That's the item that they want to have continued, so.
Okay, okay. And I thought we were talking about that one, too. I must have been wrong. So, anyway, if everybody's ready, we'll move back to consent items. Items 1 through 18, I think we went over them. Did you want to still pull item 4, 7, and 9, Mr. Stroman?
That's right.
So we have a motion to approve items 1 through 18 from Councilman Stroman, a second by Councilman Evans. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. We'll move to non-consent items, items 20, or item 19 through 21. I will open public comment. If anybody has any comment from the audience or from the dais, I will close public comment. Item 19, request from KTM Design Solutions Incorporated for an exception 21EX156 to allow more than 40 dwelling units with one point of access per section 2.6 of the Infrastructure Design Criteria Manual, IDCM. A single access can only serve 40 dwelling units unless an exception is approved by City Council, and staff recommends approval. If I can get a motion. I have a motion to approve by Councilman Jones, a second by Councilman Stroman. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Item 20, a request from KTM Design Solutions Incorporated for an exception 21EX160 to allow more than 40 dwelling units along Cherry Hills Drive with only one point of access per section 2.6 of the Infrastructure Design Criteria Manual, IDCM. A single access can only serve 40 dwelling units unless an exception is approved by City Council. Staff recommends approval. If I can get a motion. Motion to approve by Mr. Jones and Mr. Evans. You have the floor.
Yeah, I have a question. I'm trying to figure out the differences. I mean, we've got these exceptions we're approving, and they've been recommended to be approved, and yet the last one's being denied. Is there anybody here that can explain exactly what the differences is? That one was approved and one was denied.
Yeah, 21's going to be moved 2 weeks out. So,
Yeah, I can sure do that, but
think it is a great
you want to handle it when you read the next one in, or I can talk about it now, it doesn't matter.
why, yeah, we haven't voted on it, so go ahead.
Okay. Well, for instance, item 21, looking at the plan that they submitted for access, through their phasing, it looks like they'd be able to accommodate the 40 unit just by changing and phasing, and I believe that's even what their email says to take a look at that. So there are some instances where you just cannot, for instance, item 20, that's an existing road, there's a cul-de-sac that's being added. There's no way to ever get compliance without condemning property and probably building roads that cost tens of millions of dollars to gain compliance. Item 21 is greenfield development. They have multiple roads planned, multiple phases of the project, so they can gain compliance of the 40-unit rule just by relooking at their phasing. So there's some differences there, primarily existing versus new construction.
And I think one of the things, if you don't mind, on item 20, how many lots were they adding? If I remember right, it was 5 or 7. It wasn't four lots, and they're big lots. So, you know, we're not adding a lot to this, and I believe the fire department's getting their sprinkling that they like to require whenever they can, which I think especially in areas like this and the size of houses, it can be a very good idea. So, anyway, item 20, we have a motion to approve by Mr. Jones. We don't have a second yet. We have a second by Councilman Evans. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Item 21, a request by KTM Design Solutions Incorporated for an exception 21EX161 to allow more than 40 dwelling units along, this is Cloud Peak Drive, correct? Cloud Peak Drive with only one point of access per section 2.6 of the Infrastructure Design Criteria Manual, IDCM. A single access can only serve 40 dwelling units unless an exception is approved by City Council, and they have asked to continue this to October 26th. Got a motion to move to October 26th by Councilman Stroman, a second by Councilman Jones. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. If I have a motion to adjourn and a second, all in favor? We're adjourned. Thank you.